Hello, it's me again. So I just told you the story on Jordan's labor and delivery, so I figured I'd go ahead and do Emily's. I've got a piece of paper in front of me, so you're going to see me looking down because I wrote out notes, because I'm one of them people, especially with pregnancy, if I don't write stuff down, I tend to forget. So first off, I'm going to start out by telling you a little bit about my pregnancy from around like 34 weeks. With Emily, I was about 34 weeks. I think I was 34 weeks in a few days. And I went in for my 2-week appointment. And they said that my fluids were low when they did the ultrasound to see if baby was head down. So they sent me over to do a non-stress test. And the non-stress test was okay, but they still said that I was really low on my fluids and that it was my fault because I wasn't drinking enough water, even though I was drinking water upon water upon water. I was drinking probably more than what was recommended to drink, even during pregnancy. So I drank a lot of water through that pregnancy, and they still tried to say that it was my fault that my fluids were low. I wasn't drinking enough fluids, or I wasn't drinking enough water, which I knew was baloney. So I did some looking around, and I ended up switching doctors because I didn't feel right. And then on top of it, it wasn't even my doctor that I seen her nurse practitioner. And with it being something like that, you would think that the OB would be the one to come in and see me, not the nurse practitioner, because the OB is more experienced on it. But I wasn't very impressed or happy with that. So I did some research, and I ended up finding out that the doctor that delivered my first daughter, Jordan, was actually still delivering babies. And I was told that after she delivered my sister's daughter, that she wasn't going to be delivering no more. She was going to be going to just being a gynecologist. So I ended up calling her office, and I told them the story about what was going on, and they said that they would go ahead and see me. Even though I was so late in my pregnancy, they'd go ahead and see me because it didn't sound right. They wanted me to go ahead and come in right away that day and do another ultrasound, check my fluids, and that's what I done. I went in to get my fluids checked with them, and they said, yes, they are low. She said, but it's not my fault. There's nothing that I could have done to have prevented my fluids from being low. And she went ahead and had me start, she kind of put me as what is that, a more important patient. I'm not really an important patient. I can't even think what it is right now. But she put me as a high risk, that's what it is, a high risk patient. So they had me coming in once a week at that point, and they do an ultrasound to check my fluids. They put me on the machine to do a non-stress test, and make sure that everything okay, make sure the baby was okay, which they started to notice at 2 weeks before my due date that I was starting to have contractions. So I feel like with my kids, I start contracting about 38 weeks. I start having contractions. And I had contractions on and off for those 2 weeks before my due date. My due date for her was August the 15th. And I ended up having it scheduled to have my baby August the 14th because I couldn't have it scheduled August the 15th. But I wanted to make sure that I had the baby around one of those days because my grandfather, who passed away before my oldest was born, he died of cancer, and his birthday was August the 15th. So I didn't get to name neither one of my kids after him like I wanted to. He ended up giving my oldest daughter her middle name. But I was trying for his birthday with her. And, okay, anyways, so, with my due date being August the 15th, I asked her if she could induce me on August the 15th. And she said that no, because she was not on call that weekend. She wouldn't be able to do it on that weekend, but she, if she was on call, she would have done it. So we opted for being induced. She scheduled me to come in on August the 13th at 10 o'clock and start my induction, and then I would be there until I had the baby the next day on the 14th. So I went in at 10 o'clock on the 13th. I got hooked up to monitors. I was weighed, which I was 196 pounds for her, but I was heavier. I was like 130 pounds when I got pregnant for her, so I only gained about 55 pounds for her. But I was weighed. I was weighed, and they checked my blood pressure, which this pregnancy, I had no issues with blood pressure or thinking that I had gestational diabetes. I had no issues other than my water, my fluid issue. So then they hooked me up to the monitors and put an IV in, got my fluids running, and they gave me the Cervidil, which is a pill that they stick in your cervix, and they leave it in for 4 hours, and every 4 hours they come in and check you for dilation. If you need more, then they'll put more in. But they started the Cervidil around 11 o'clock that night, and I laid there for a while. I had people texting me, calling me to check on me, seeing how things were going. And I would just, I couldn't sleep. I was really nervous. I was excited. I'd been having contractions already. And they could see that on the monitor as well. When I went in there, she said, we may not even have to do the Pitocin because you're already dilating. So, yeah, I know. Or not dilating, contracting. Yeah, I know. I've been contracting for about 2 weeks. And it surprised her because a lot of people don't do that. So, I got that pill in. My husband came with me, and he spent the night with me, and my husband's older sister kept the kids overnight for us so that he could stay in the hospital with me. So that he could stay in the hospital with me, and then we went, I'm sorry, I'm losing track. He stayed with me in the hospital. His mother actually came up and stayed with us in the hospital this time, and I had her and him with me. Them two slept through the night. I did not sleep very well. Emily, shh. I didn't sleep at all. Anytime I tried to sleep, I'd start getting contractions, and I'd feel like I needed to get up because I'd done some research and realized that, hey, I need to be walking and things like that. So about 12:30, 1 o'clock, I decided I'm going to get up and I'm going to sway and move around. And I kind of squatted a little bit through my contractions to kind of push the baby down further. And I went out and walked a few times, which I didn't start going out and actually walking out of the room until probably, see, they put in the cervidil at 10. They came in and checked me for dilation. I was like 3 to 4, I think. When I went in, I was only like 2 centimeters dilated this time and 70% effaced. And around 2 or 3, they came in and checked me. I was like a 3 to 4. They put another cervidil pill in and told me that I had to stay laying down for an hour. After an hour, I could get up and move. So I laid there until probably 5 o'clock, and I got up and went out and walked a few times. I walked once or twice by myself, and then my mother-in-law woke up, and she walked with me a couple times, and she rubbed my back while I was having a contraction, which helped because with Emily, I was having back labor pretty badly. Sorry. They ended up not having to do the Pitocin with Emily, because I was contracting on my own with just doing the cervidil pill. I think my cervix is very favorable when it comes to doing the cervidil pills. So anyways, around 7 a.m., my doctor come in. She asked questions, which the nurse was in there when she was asking some of the questions. Emily, stop. And the nurse said, oh, yeah, she's already been up walking around a few times. So she checked me for dilation. At 7 a.m., I was dilated to a 6. She broke my water. And I had to stay in the bed at that point. She broke my water at 7, and she did her rounds, and then she come back to check on me before she went to the hospital at 8:30. She checked me again, and I was dilated to an 8. At that point, I was... my sister-in-law had brought in my daughter, Jordan. Jordan hadn't started school yet, so she ended up getting to be there. My sister-in-law showed up, and I had my daughter there as well. And I started... The contractions were getting more and more intense at that point because I was almost fully dilated. So I kept getting really bad hot flashes. I was shaking back and forth. I couldn't do it anymore. I needed something. And I said, can I have a little bit of Stadol? I don't want a whole lot. I really don't want it at all. She said, because you have faithfully told us no all night and not gotten any Stadol. She said, we'll just give you a teeny tiny bit to knock off the edge a little bit. And I said, I don't want the Phenigrin. I don't need the Phenigrin. I don't feel sick. I don't want it, because she thinks that that's what made me sick. So she didn't give me any Phenigrin, and she gave me just very little, and it was just very little because I was having the pains pretty intensely. It was just enough to keep me from being in so much pain that I wasn't breathing like I was supposed to be, because I knew if I wasn't breathing, the baby wasn't getting oxygen. And if the baby's not getting oxygen, it's going to cause issues. So she gave me that, and then I felt like I needed to push. Doctor checked me again, and the nurse checked me again, and I was a 9.5. Doctor said, go ahead and let me go ahead and start pushing. I started pushing, and by 9:35 a.m., little Miss Emily was born. She was 7 pounds, 5 ounces, 20 inches long. I felt wonderful after having her. I knew everything that was going on. I remember everything from my delivery. I felt fantastic, and I felt very proud of myself. Even though I'd only made it to 7 centimeters without getting any of the Stadol, And even though it was very little, I was kind of disappointed that I had to get any at all. But I was very proud of myself because I didn't get the epidural. I didn't try to get the epidural. I didn't get the state all too early. I made it all the way to 8 centimeters dilated before I'd even gotten anything. So I felt very, very happy with myself because I was determined to make it without getting anything. But my biggest thing was not being drowsy and being able to remember my labor and delivery. And with her, I remember everything. After having her, I remember everything. I actually got to do skin to skin. They didn't take her away for an hour. Actually, I think it was longer than an hour, to be honest, before they weighed her and cleaned her up and done all of that. I had her on my chest for an hour. Quit, Emily. I had her on my chest for an hour to, just a second. I had her on my chest for an hour to do skin to skin. So we done skin to skin for an hour. I got to nurse her. I had a lactation consultant come in, make sure that she was latching properly. Everything went wonderful. With this labor and delivery, I was very happy. I had the best nurses. The hospital was good. So I kind of feel like I made a good decision, not only for the issue with my water being low, but also the fact that the hospital wasn't the greatest at my old doctor's. I made a good decision at switching because that's just what I needed to do. So being able to have the skin to skin and being able to have my daughter on me and nurse before they take her away from me and weigh her and all of those things, it felt wonderful. And then they took her and they weighed her and did all of those things and brought her right back to me. It was wonderful. And we actually got to go home the next day. So it was a really good experience. I'm sorry. Anyways, so I got to take her home on the, she was born on the 24th. We got to go home on the 25th. And everything was great from there. I ended up breastfeeding her until she was 10 months old. So, that's about it. Thank you for watching my story. If you have any questions, leave them down below. If you like the video, press the like button. If you're new, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so it lets you know when I post another video. And I hope you have a blessed day. Bye.